This video was brought to you by Noom. Take your free 30-second quiz today at noom.com/hoodchronicles. More on Noom later on in the video.
It's been described as one of the most heinous crimes in Canadian history, and today the man behind it received the toughest sentence handed down since the last executions took place in this country more than 50 years ago.
RCMP's officers were shot and killed. 2 other officers were also injured, but their life is not threatened at this time.
Hey guys, in today's video we'll be taking a look at Justin Bourque, the 24-year-old man who shot and killed 3 cops and injured 2 more in the town of Moncton, New Brunswick 8 years ago. We'll get into details of who he was, what happened on what's been described as the darkest day in the history of the New Brunswick RCMP, and what led this young man to these crimes. Let's get into it. Justin Bourque was born into a Roman Catholic family and was the third of 7 kids. His father, Victor, had 2 jobs at a nearby dental office and as a parking attendant downtown. His mother, Denise, was a talented cook who homeschooled all 7 kids. Life at the Bourques was by all accounts peaceful and happy. His friends described Justin as a very funny, loyal, and chill guy. He liked to play video games and have a puff of weed or a drink with his friends. He was great at impressions, from Bill Cosby to Herbert from Family Guy. But all was not well. His father revealed that the family began noticing a concerning change in Justin's behavior a few years before the Moncton Shootings. It happened slowly and gradually. He had increasing anxieties and worries. He was restless. His father said he was constantly concerned about the injustices of the world and the wars going on. Only 18 months before the shootings, Justin was forced to move out of his parents' home. This was because of a disagreement over his purchase of a second firearm, as well as some inappropriate behavior on his part. His family even reached out to old friends in the police for advice, but they were told there wasn't much they could do. The police couldn't confiscate his guns until something happened. He moved into the trailer park in Moncton's Ryder Park and began work at a distribution warehouse. However, the major changes were yet to come. It all started in early 2013. His family noticed that he had deleted his Facebook profile, wiping all his old friends and pictures. Later on that same year, his father reported that on Christmas, his family tried talking to him, but he wouldn't sit down and talk. He also said that Justin was struggling financially and was constantly in and out of jobs. Victor thought maybe his son didn't realize it, but they could see he was down and there was nothing they could do to reach him. 6 weeks after Christmas, Justin came back on Facebook. His profile photo showed him standing in a snowy forest among dozens of spent shell casings, gripping a black firearm and wearing a green army coat. This Justin was different from the guy who was kind and got high with his friends. In his very frequent Facebook posts, he shared pictures and messages from anti-gun control groups and posts that criticized the police. He seemed to spot state conspiracy in every corner. One of Justin's former co-workers, Caitlin, said that he always seemed to have a problem with authority. Very often, he would have issues with parents, bosses, police, as he would start arguments with them. He held strong anti-government and anti-authority views. She recalled one strange encounter with Justin. A few people from work decided to go camping one weekend, and he brought his rifle with him. He held onto it the whole night while drinking. Of course, that freaked everybody out, and they didn't invite him ever again. Justin wrote on his Facebook, "If we are born poor, we die poor. We live under their reign, under crownless kings. Unless the people take notice, fight, and destroy the 1%, the battle for the future is lost, because the new age of the tyrants is already upon us." He later posted, on February 27th, "In today's society, anger and aggression are not allowed. What other basic instincts and emotions are they gonna take next?" His posts ranged from politicians' salaries to obsessing over a potential Russian invasion, and he mocked the youth in Canada who believed that everybody loved them and they were special. He also reposted cartoons condemning liberal gun control advocates. One of these said, "Free men do not ask for permission to bear arms." Stuff like this was persistent on Justin's Facebook, but he was especially active on June 4th. He posted a photo of police officers dressed in riot gear, symbolizing the international militarization of law enforcement. Several hours after this post, and a few others, he was getting dressed in green camo and loading his guns. On the evening of June 4th, 2014, Justin Bourque bought 3 whole boxes of ammunition with a friend. His friend didn't find this unusual as the two regularly went hunting into the shooting range. However, only over an hour later at around 7 p.m, Justin left his trailer, visibly carrying an M14, a shotgun, and all the ammo he had bought. He was dressed in camouflage clothes, the same ones that he seemed to be wearing in his Facebook display. Very calmly, he strolled down the road, passing several neighbors on his way. Craig McCarthy was one of the first people to see Justin. He later told reporters that he simply walked and looked straight ahead. You could tell that he was on a mission. Without firing a single shot, Bourque disappeared into the woods behind the trailer park. Understandably, other residents of the park were terrified to see him, and calls to the police were made about an armed man walking towards the woods around Pioneer Avenue. 12 officers of the RCMP responded to the calls and quickly set up a perimeter around the woods, completely surrounding the area. Just moments later, 45-year-old Constable Jevedon was one of the first officers to arrive at the scene and get a visual on Justin. He was lying down in a wooded area behind 2 homes. Constable Jevedon called out to him from the back of the house. Bourque had a clear aim at the officer and responded to his shout by firing at him. He missed 3 shots. Constable Jevedon screamed into his radio, "He's shooting at me," and tried to run from the scene. But he was struck twice in the torso and died almost instantly. Minutes later, his body was found by other officers, and CPR was attempted with no luck. Other people in the area who had heard the shots assumed it was only firecrackers, because a rampage such as this was unheard of in their small and seemingly peaceful part of the world. Meanwhile, Justin fled the woods and headed from McCoy Street to Millhaw Avenue. There, he came across 30-year-old Constable Ross, who was just arriving at the scene in a police SUV. He was driving right behind the killer and started to accelerate towards him. Instantly, Justin turned around to face the officer who tried to shoot at him with his pistol to the windshield. Justin, completely unharmed, returned fire with his rifle. Constable Ross was shot 6 times and killed with 1 to his head. In just 2 minutes, 2 officers were down, and an entire town was crippled. Only an hour ago, the most interesting story on the news in Moncton was about a dog biting a postal worker. The quiet little town of Moncton had no idea what was about to happen. As Justin resumed his walk down Millhaw Avenue, he passed several horrified residents. "Don't worry, I'm not here to kill civilians, just government officials," he assured Millie, who was just about to lock her door as Justin walked past her house. At the intersection of Millhaw Avenue and Hildegard Drive, Constable Benoit saw him. Immediately, he shot at her squad car and disabled it. Benoit's fellow officer, Constable Dubois, rushed to her defense before the gunman could do any more damage. He exchanged fire with Justin, getting hit on his left arm and both his legs. Following this quick shootout, he turned right on Hildegard Drive and continued walking, which allowed the injured officer to escape and get some medical assistance. Only mere moments later, Constable Gogan unknowingly closed in on Justin's location. She was using a different radio frequency than the other officers involved in all 3 shootouts so far. And although she had been warned by her sister about a cop-killing gunman on the loose, she had no idea exactly where it was happening. As she got closer to him, she noticed a civilian car make an illegal U-turn and turned her own vehicle around to confront the driver. Out of nowhere, 3 gunshots rang out, completely destroying her windshield as the officer felt blood streaming down her head. She called out for help on her radio and barely escaped with the help of a fellow officer. At the same time, Justin stuck between houses and got back to Millhaw Avenue. There, 40-year-old Constable Arch arrived at the scene on foot, dressed in regular clothes to look like a civilian. At first, that's what Justin thought as well, but then he noticed a shotgun on the officer and took cover behind a tree. Still unknown to Arch, he started firing at the officer, who somehow managed to get up and fire back, but then he was struck again, this time in the head, and died instantly. Justin came up to the body, ensured Lurch was dead, and disappeared into the forest. Justin hid in the woods for the next 30 hours. Several of his friends and family members identified him to the police after seeing photos of him taken by civilians during the shootout circulated on social media. A 300-man manhunt was launched in no time, complete with helicopters and armored vehicles. At around 9 p.m, warnings were sent out by the RCMP official Twitter account for residents to stay inside as the suspect was believed to be hiding in the woods near Pinecrest. On Thursday morning, June 5th, the RCMP posted a map asking everybody within the marked perimeter to remain locked inside their homes. Later that morning, an RCMP news conference was held asking people to stay vigilant and not post any police movement on social media. A while later, another briefing was held asking people to stay inside and stay safe until Justin was in police custody. At 7:59 p.m, the RCMP asked the public to turn their exterior lights on to help with the search. On Friday morning, the police received a tip about a suspicious man in a wooded area near the intersection of Wheeler Boulevard and Mountain Road from a local resident. Teams of cops came onto the site. When confronted by the police, Justin threw up his arms and surrendered. He kept repeating, "I'm done," to the arresting officers. In his later statement, Justin told the police that he wasn't a bad guy, he was just a cop killer. He showed no remorse for what he had done. He said he'd do it the same way again, except this time he'd bring water with him. He had cheese sandwiches, granola bars, and Ritz crackers with him during the manhunt, and was drinking water from a hose. Speaking of strategic food choices and forgetting to bring water, I've got a quick word to share from today's sponsor, Noom. I started using Noom just a few weeks ago, and noticed right away that I was rarely drinking 8 glasses of water and haven't been making the best food choices. Thanks to Noom, I'm now drinking enough water and eating a more balanced diet. Noom's amazing color-coded system helped me see that there aren't simply good or bad foods. It's brilliant, and logging meals has made it easy to understand my eating habits and how to make better food choices. I found results by simply giving the program about 5 minutes a day to read through a daily lesson like this one, about the psychology behind a habit. Noom is incredibly effective at keeping me on track and motivated, since it encourages me to make small but consistent steps. In just a few days, Noom helped me become more aware of what I put into my body, and maybe even more importantly, what I wasn't. I find that I'm now eating healthier by doing a quick check before every meal of how many orange foods I'd already eaten that day and how much water I drank. If you're ready to get started, take your free 30-second quiz today at noom.com/hoodchronicles or click the link in the description below. Now let's get back into the story. He claimed that he had fought for freedom, and nobody had ever done that without killing someone. He maintained his stance against the Canadian government. He said it was corrupt, imperialistic, and authoritarian. He wanted a revolution. He had hoped a shootout would spark an uprising against the government and the police. Justin revealed that his initial plan was to hurt the oil industry. He was going to set some gas stations on fire and shoot at random civilians around there. But then his bicycle was broken, so he winged it and came up with plan B: kill police officers. In a statement, Justin said that he was surprised by the lack of resistance from the police, as none of them stepped into the woods. He was also very mad at the arresting officers, as he said they had tortured him before putting him into a cop car. He said he expected to die, but he had the mentality of a soldier and just never found his war. As soon as the images of Justin went viral, his friends took to social media to condemn his actions and express their utter shock. One friend wrote, "You knew this wasn't the answer." Another commented, "Give up, it's horrible what you did." Mike, his childhood friend, later said that he didn't feel bad for Justin, but his family were the best people he'd ever known. And just seeing 15 cop cars surrounding his parents' house with automatic weapons drawn as the sisters walked out with their hands up in the air was very sad to see. Justin's father said that he and his family were also praying for the loved ones of the deceased. He too condemned his son's actions. He said that nobody had the authority to take a life. Justin was found competent to stand trial after undergoing a psychiatric assessment. On August 2014, he entered a guilty plea to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He was given 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole for 75 years, meaning he'd be eligible for parole when he was 99 years old. Many consider the sentence to be the harshest of its kind since the last imposed Canadian death penalty in 1962. Justin Bourque is currently incarcerated at the Atlantic Institution, a federal correctional facility in New Brunswick. In September 2020, Justin was rushed to the hospital after a drug overdose. He was treated in the hospital for a few days and then transferred to Dorchester Penitentiary in New Brunswick for ongoing medical care. Justin obtained these drugs while serving his sentence at the Atlantic Institution. Sources did not confirm whether this overdose was believed to be a suicide attempt or not. In 2011, sentenced judges had the power to combine parole eligibility in cases of multiple first and second-degree murder charges. However, in May 2022, a decision released by the Supreme Court of Canada unanimously struck down parole stacking for mass murderers. This new ruling will take effect immediately and is valid on cases from 2011 onward. Consequently, this will throw away 50 years of Justin Bourque's parole eligibility. Now he'd be eligible for parole at the age of 49 instead of 99. Justin's defense lawyer called him the ideal candidate for parole. He pointed out this decision did not guarantee parole, only a shot at it if you've done everything right. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and want to see more like this in the future. Also leave a comment down below letting me know what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching and have a good one.